We'll get this out to everyone. Today is the secret sauce, and I'm still figuring out exactly how to tailor it to the brokerage side. This is specifically how we buy properties. And I think there's a lot of crossover, but this is our first time doing this presentation to brokers. A big piece that Cody and I get a lot on our social media is how do you separate being a broker and an owner. I'm going to try to delineate those as we go through this series, but today is how Cody and I talk to owners and build relationships. Who remembers from week 1 the circle drill that we talked about? Garrett does. Chris is nodding. Jeff. Okay. The quick recap. Everything, like, you are the center of your universe. Circles you. You have relatability, a clear goal, and the significance behind that goal. That is what you have to master for your story when you're communicating to someone. And that takes a few minutes to go through in conversation. When you're meeting someone new, you already know your story and you've practiced it. So you can communicate that very, very, very concisely. The other person you're speaking to has almost definitely not practiced that. People use a lot of words, and your goal is to learn what their circle is. So you want to figure out, where are the two of you relatable? What are their goals, and what is the reason behind their goals? And you do that through normal conversation. You just, you find what you connect on. There's relatability, and you go, okay, well, what are you trying to accomplish? You bought all these units. What are you doing? And they'll tell you a little bit about their story. What's your end goal? Like, what's the reason behind it? What do you do when you make it? I want to know, what is their why? When you know everyone else's circle, you can just line it up. And this works for clients. This works for your own investment opportunities. This works for raising capital. When you find the right people for the right deal, and you've just mapped out, this is everyone's circle. It's basically like playing cards where you're just looking for matches and you just match them and go. And that's the whole model. And I've never seen anyone do it exactly like this. It's one of the pieces. That's why I call it the secret sauce. It's really simple, like everything Cody and I do. But it's also really unique. I've never seen anyone map it like this. So, practical example, I spoke to a guy. We're going to call him John. His name's not John, but we're recording this. He didn't tell me I could use his name. He is flipping properties. He's lost money twice, and he finally made money on one flip, and he made a lot of money. He's like, I suck at this, but I did really well for once. And I didn't realize what the tax implications were. So I'm trying to buy a bunch of real estate and invest in syndications and what have you to try to defer taxes. He's like, I need to lower my taxable income. And so I'm going to try to get a bunch of write-offs. That was his goal. He communicated in that he wants to get more time with his kid in the next 10 years. He's a highly paid Microsoft employee. All he wants to do in real estate is double his money every 5 years. That's been his target forever. He's like, I am terrible at it. So I want to place money with a bunch of syndicators, but they don't offer big enough returns for me consistently. So I stored that in my mind, and we found this deal where we met two people in Moses Lake, Dan and Gary, who seller financed us to deal 10% down. On that deal, their goal was to pass the torch to the next generation, to people who will keep teaching other people how to do this. So for Cody and I and our YouTube channel and everything we do, we are the perfect fit. We're the next generation of people. We love teaching. There's that deal. I know their circle. There was little cash flow on that deal, day one, but a lot of upside in the future. Since we don't compromise on cash flow, I thought of the guy we're calling John, and the conversation was, oh my gosh, you wanted to double your money every 5 years. I have a deal. Cash flow is a little skinny and we need it to do some minor renovations on the property. What if we get 100% of the cash flow for the whole 5 years and we write a 2-to-1 buyout to you, that if we fail to execute, you get all 3 buildings, but with all the improvements, all the debt pay down, and at the pricing that we got 5 years in the past. So his security is stellar. He gets to double his money every 5 years. And all sides of that deal were done because we lined up everyone's circles. My goal was to increase cash flow and unit count. Gary and Dan's goal was to start offloading their portfolio to the next generation, someone who's going to steward their portfolio. And John's goal was to double his money. When we lined up all pieces, we found the deal, we found the debt, we found the equity. That's the full equation. Deal equals debt plus equity. Now we have a deal and we can go forward. So this section is all about matching your story. The way Cody and I prospect, I make about 5 calls a week. I make about 1 call a day for about 15 minutes. That is honestly the time that I spend prospecting, because we have a lot of moving parts that take a lot of my time. Cody does about the same. So between Cody and I, we probably make 10 calls to owners that are just like new people per week. In these calls, instead of asking for the sale, you can make these as a broker and it's going to be more transactional. If you're calling to buy as an owner, you make these to learn how they did what they did. I never bring up a transaction on a first call because everyone and their sister is doing that. Right now, the 2 most popular methods that I have seen for expanding in real estate are wholesaling, where people are getting stuff under contract and assigning it to someone else for a fee. And it's a mass marketing job where they're calling everyone they can on those lists of, hey, I see you're over 80. I see you're an out-of-state owner. I see you're whatever the hot list is. They're calling through that like crazy. Or syndication, which is also very marketing heavy on finding investors. So everyone's making mass calls. What we're going to do is very, very, very targeted calls that are non-transactional. For example, I own a duplex in Moses Lake. When I was getting started, there's a 12-plex that I wanted to own something like. It doesn't have to be that building. I want to know how to scale to that. The information is more valuable than the deal. So I called our property neighbor about their 12 unit. The call goes like this. Hey, this is Christian. Just bought a duplex down the street from you. We're property neighbors. Wanted to call, say hello, and want to let you know I'm trying to figure out how to scale up. I saw your 12-plex just down the street, which is why I'm calling. I was curious how you got started in real estate. Never bought anything that big before. Sometimes they'll just answer you with like, well, and they'll just start talking. Most people are used to being bombarded for sales. So the most typical response is going to be, well, I'm not selling it. It's an awesome opportunity for you because you just called to say you're trying to learn. You just get to reiterate what you just said. Well, that's awesome. I don't know how I'd buy that. I'm stuck on duplexes, and you insert a few sentences about your circle. This is where you try to hit relatability. Well, I'm a younger investor. This is actually my second duplex. I've come to the realization that I'm not going to get where I'm trying to go 2 units at a time. It's going to take me way too long. I was curious how you scaled into 12 plexes. Did you start small and go big, or is this where you started? You're trying to ask open-ended questions to get them to have dialogue with you. The goal of your first call is just to set a meeting. It's not to buy a property. It's not to talk about their property. It's not to, hey, how much is your building appreciated? Have you ever thought of selling? I take all of that off the table because everyone's already doing that. If you can compete anywhere, Cody and I talk a lot about red ocean versus blue ocean. Red ocean is where everyone is. There's blood in the water. The sharks are there. It's highly competitive. Blue ocean is just wide open. And right now, asking someone to not to buy their property, but just, hey, I love what you've done. Can I sit down and have you talk about you? No one's doing that. Right now, that call, we have, I keep track of this. We have just over 92% booking rate of people who answer the phone. When they answer the phone, there's a 92% chance that they're going to get coffee with Cody or I. Now, if you're an owner, this is great because owners know other owners. So you meet them, you share your story. So for me, my wife and I can't have kids. That's something that I work in there really early because I want to adopt kids and I want to have time with my kids. My dad was an amazing provider for my family, amazing provider, which came at the cost of all of his time. So I didn't see my dad much. I want to provide for my kids. and have time with them like I never had with my dad. That's what I'm trying to do. I've mapped out my circle, and I know how to just gently, casually weave it into conversation without taking over the conversation. It's a really quick story, relatable. Yeah, I'm trying to have kids, and I want to be out of the rat race when I have kids. Most people want more time with their kids. I mean, most people either want that or understand that. For me, it's like I'm trying to create a passive income that allows me to do that. And if people want to get specific, I pegged my number at 20,000 a month, allows me to move to Texas, adopt kids, support my family with no one actually having to work. Then we get to work. That's how we've mapped it out. That's the goal. Significance. My kids are going to grow up with time that I never had, and most people never had with their parents. Both parents have as much time as we need to raise our kids in the environment we want to raise them in. That's awesome. And that's something that I want to show other people how to do. Map your circle, find out someone else's. They're either going to help you, because once you put together a goal, people go, huh, I want to help you achieve that goal. That is a natural thing for people to do. When I hear someone say, hey, I really want to do this, if it's a good goal, you want them to achieve it. You get on their side. When they put the significance behind that, that's where you get the ultimate buy-in, and they commit to, I'm going to help you get there. It either looks like showing you how to buy properties. Everything Cody and I know about creative financing, we've learned from this meeting with owners. They'll show you how to buy what they have. They'll sell you what they have, which is, and with that trust, that's how you get that low down seller finance stuff that we do. Or they'll introduce you to the next person. Owners know owners. Just taking these meetings, we were over in Bellevue last week. Zach Lazo, he started Caliber Home Loans. They got bought by Compass Real Estate. The neighbor on our 7-plex, he has a little 4-plex, called him. He's really good friends with Zach, loves what we do, brought us into a meeting with Zach and someone else who has 1,500 something units. Started with creative financing, has paid almost all of it off. He's in our market. I won't name him because he likes to be really private. But you just go from one owner who owns a 12-plex to another owner who owns a 4-plex to someone who has 1,000 unit portfolio to someone who's right next door to us who owns 1,500 units. All of them love what we do and are invested in who we are in moving us forward. That whole path took about 6 calls and five actually booked coffee meetings. And now we're connected with everyone and they're invested in who we are, and you move forward. So I told you when I started this call, I was going to start talking. I was going to figure out how this relates to brokerage as well as your personal investing. And I started this opening my mouth knowing that, hey, we're going to get there, but I don't know how yet. I know how we're going to get there. As an investor, it's really important that you own, at some point, if you're working with investors, that you own real estate. I don't trust a stockbroker who's not rich off stocks, because how the heck are they going to get me there? If they have not walked the path, how do I trust them to guide me there? You need to at some point go out and buy stuff. And I would separate in your calls when you are calling to purchase, when you're calling for an acquisition. Besides your obligation to let them know you're a licensed broker when you get to the transaction, in your initial call, you're an owner or a prospective owner, and you are calling to meet for coffee. Don't complicate it with, hey, I also wholesale, or I can also help you list your thing. Stay away from everything transactional until the coffee meeting. When you have a relationship, you can work the brokerage piece into your story. Hey, I became a broker because I wanted to do X and Y. I wanted to build my own portfolio. I wanted to help people generate wealth. I'm right here in my journey, and I'm trying to get to where you are. And you just talk to different owners. You build out your network. It's very easy to do. And what you'll find is every market has, depending on the size of your market, but most areas have 3 to 5 people who are the big owner. There's always one or two people who've just dominated the area. There's some other players competing. And you meet one of them and they like you, and all of a sudden you're in. They introduce you to everyone and you're just you're the next player in the market. We've seen this start to happen in KidSap. We've had this happen with our mentees down in Texas. It's happened for us in Moses Lake. We're doing it again in Tukwila. It works every time. You get in front of the right people, they introduce you to everyone else. So, point of today's meeting is master your story. Spend all your energy on just learning the other person's story. Make it about the meeting, not the transaction, and the transactions will absolutely follow. They'll know you're a broker, and when you guys relate, you're going to start buying properties and you're going to run into deals where you're like, shoot, I love this deal. I'm not in a position to buy it. I'm just not. However, I do have a client who I'd like to work this with. Never violate the relationship, but you'll know which people are open to that. I have some of our broker deals right now. I would love to buy that fourplex on Skyline Drive in Moses Lake. If any of you follow anything Cody and I do, I want to buy everything in Moses Lake. It's hard for me not to buy. We could have bought that deal, but it would have been the wrong allocation of capital for us right now. At this time, I need extra liquidity. We were able to have that conversation when they asked us to buy it. Hey, the timing's not right. I have a friend who really would like this property. I think we can get it written up this week. Boom. There was never a transactional point to that relationship. That was the 5th time we've met. That was on a phone call. They brought up hey, we would like to do a transaction. Do you guys want to have it? Well, it's not the right deal for me. It is the right deal for one of my friends. Can we do this? As a broker, this type of meeting will put you in a position to have calls like Cody had today on the meeting, where Jeff asked for, hey, who has an off-market deal? Cody brought up like 7 different things that we have going on. We have a pipeline that's much, 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 much bigger than we can close out. And we never asked any of these people to do a transaction at any point. It's a completely contrarian model, but it's just go meet people, have coffee, learn their story, share your story. Don't ask them for a deal, which all of my sales coaches would slap me for that. But just don't ask for the close, don't ask for the deal, build the relationship, and then leave it. People are going to appreciate that. And then follow up and have coffee again. And at some point, it's just a normal question for 2 friends to ask. They're like, okay, you said you were trying to do X. I was just talking to someone and I had this idea. You wanted to sell your property for X. What if we structured it like this? I have a buyer. I have a friend. It's a conversation when there's trust. And the last point I'm going to make on this is there's so much competition out there. Like so much. When you have this level of rapport with someone, they are not going to work with someone else. You're not doing the whole thing where some listed property and you're submitting the 18th offer in the last hour, which sounds ridiculous, but that actually happens. I had a friend who had over 50 offers on their property in Issaquah on the first day. And I thought it was overpriced when they listed it. I mean, our market is that insane. I've actually never listed a property before, save the 6 hours that we listed the fourplex, and Cody did 80% of the legwork on that. Everything we move is just off market because I could just have that conversation. Hey, I want to do this. Turns out we've had enough coffee meetings where I know the person for the other end of that transaction. And I go, well, we can go through the whole listing process, or we can do exactly what you want to right now. So the takeaways from this, and this is the first time we've done this for brokers. I've done this training a million times for just owners. Takeaways I want everyone to have is commit to owning real estate because it is going to make you a better broker. It is so much easier to guide people where you've been. Prioritize relationships only. You can always make prospecting calls as a broker. It's not that hard to do. And we're bringing on John, who's going to help open the door for us. So we get to come in and close, and we have those pieces settled. Anyone who wants to build a real estate empire and help their clients do the same, just focus on the relationship. Just focus on the 3 things. Master your relatability, your goal, your significance. Be able to tell that in short and long form. Practice that with your spouse, your family, your girlfriend, your coworkers. Like just drill it. This is me. This is what I've done. This is where I'm going, and this is why I'm going there. Be able to tell that so that when you're in a meeting, you don't have to waste any time. You can quickly communicate. They're invested in you, and now you spend your whole time creating your playing card for who is this person, what are they about, where are they trying to go. Create a deck of that, and you just get more and more combinations of things that you can play. I'm a nerd, so everything's going to be a board game analogy with me. Sports analogies will be lost, but I'm sure there's a great sports analogy in here as well for you athletes. Garrett, I just assume you're an athlete because you're huge. But
yeah, back in the
day, I believe it. But the more pieces you have, the more real estate you own, the more relationships you have, the more ability you have to pivot and play cards. And you have these combos you can now do of, wow, I know the buyer, the seller, or if I'm the buyer, I know the deal and I know where I can get the equity because I can line up everything perfectly. And lastly, and most importantly, brokerage is about being able to tell a story about yourself, about the property, about the buyer, about the seller. We're all professional storytellers. When you have these pieces and you know the things that make each person unique, if you're me, my only skill is that I have a crazy memory. I'm otherwise fairly useless. Cody's an amazing salesperson, but he remembers nothing. So the two of us are really good. I don't have to write down the playing cards because I will retain everything that I hear. If you're not me and you're someone like Cody with huge skills and no memory, just write them all out. Literally just have a playbook. And you can do it as a circle. You can do it in list form. Relatability, target, significance. If you have that mapped out for everyone, you're going to have more combos you can play. You're going to have a bigger arsenal and you'll just knock out deals. You'll be a better broker, a better owner. Your passive income will go up. Your earned income will go up. And same with your clients. You're going to have the experience to guide them to higher income than people with less experience. So that's what I got for today. That seemed to flow. Hopefully I'm going to watch the recording and see if I just rambled or if that was valuable. But we will post this. I'm now posting them on YouTube and sharing a link. I have a better way to share these because I've been made aware that the last few links have not actually been accessible, which kind of defeats the purpose. So I will get this uploaded immediately after this. Do we have any questions from the team?
Yeah, I'm definitely curious, what is the best way to, and you explained it really well. It's really about relationship. It's about asking the questions about how to get to where they're going, on the brokerage side. Mm-hmm. Have you guys tried to pursue any of those opportunities on the brokerage side, or is it really just because you guys are so investor heavy and wanting to acquire more properties? Is it really just you guys are going after some of these meetings or all of these meetings as, just the owner side?
I do book all the meetings as the owner side. That is correct. Right now, I have just pitched that sixplex on Broadway that I will be talking to Jeff about as well. Where we're looking to do the lease option for. We're going to broker the transaction. That deal is genius. I have to buy it conventionally, and believe it or not, banks still hate us, even with all the passive income. I don't have a W-2, and everything is unconventional, and everything is recent, which banks hate all of. I have little track record. I've done a lot in a short period of time, and I have no guaranteed income. So banks look at that and they're like, no. However, that sixplex, we're going to get the brokerage fees for both sides, and we're going to get a lease option where we have the right to buy it 5 years from now. Mm-hmm. But we're doing that as a broker transaction. The triplex we're doing, I did buy it, and I'm lining up clients right now so that it's pre-sold once we get the rent up. As soon as the rent's up, we can execute the contract. So we're going to put like a 4-month window on it. And once we hit all requirements, it'll be on or before this date. We'll broker that deal. The fourplex on Skyline, we just straight up brokering it because it's the wrong deal for us right now. I'm looking at doing that. There's a duplex in Moses Lake right now for 180. It is in a rougher neighborhood than my duplex, but I just sold a duplex for exactly twice that. Actually, a little bit more than twice that.
Wow.
In the same market. someone can buy that. We can get rents up for them through PM, which would be a PM opportunity for us. And they can relist that in 90 days for $50,000-$60,000 of upside. However, there's no creative financing available. They need to buy it through a bank. It's a duplex that I can't buy. Someone's going to basically double their money in 9 months. If it cost them like $50,000 down, they'll make another $50,000. It's just a quick doubling of equity. So there's plays like that in the market, and we find stuff off market all the time like that. We are dedicating more time because we're dedicated to growing P&W as well. There comes a point where you can buy every deal yourself or you can help other people. It is better on a branding standpoint and as a P&W standpoint to do more helping other people. So I'm letting more of our mentees and fans on Instagram, I'm letting them into the deals in Central Washington as a broker. But a lot of these come up off market, like Cody listed 7 or 8 of them. Someone calls, I'm trying to do this. Well, shoot, we were thinking of taking that out, but this is a good fit for you. Turns out it is a lot easier to broker things than buy things. And sometimes I'm just buying too many things at once and I can't handle it. It's great to have clients who buy those because we're going to manage those properties for them. We always pitch PM. And when we own the PM and we started the relationship, it's much easier to come back to them later and go, hey, are you ready to scale up? I would love to buy that asset and we'll help you 1031 to your next deal. It's actually why we started PM. It keeps the relationships in house.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a really long answer to a short question. Short answer would be yes. Yes, we do broker, and that is how we do it.
Nice. Well, I appreciate the rundown, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other questions?
So basically, when you're just getting started, it's just most important is just to start networking. Is that right?
Network is everything.
Yeah.
100%. It is the story and how other people got to where they're at is 1,000 times more valuable than a duplex. Long answer, long, very quick story. I'll keep this one quick, I promise. I have someone who lives maybe 25 houses that way from me, which is north, if you guys are wondering where I was pointing. His name's Scotty. He's a wholesaler. He has done 6 deals with Gary and Dan over the last decade. And they're all for duplex, triplex, single family house. Anyone could call those guys anytime and you could do a duplex with them. You could do a small deal. However, because of our relationship with them, and we went over a year, we just rode in their cars and learned how they bought everything creatively. All their really good stuff, where they would give you 20 to 25% down seller financed, they'll give me 0 to 10% seller financed, and they're willing to do the whole portfolio, which is about a $40 million portfolio over 5 to 10 years. And they taught us how, hey, you buy this one, we wait a few years, and the equity you build in that, we'll put a second against that, and that'll be your down payment for the next property. So we've now graduated to a point where the first deals we did with them buy the next deal. Our property just buys property. They taught us that strategy. The difference is if we went after a transaction, I would own another duplex or 2. We're buying a 15-plex from them likely this year, likely 0 down. And they have 3 triplexes right next to a duplex that they have 3 duplexes next to another duplex that we're likely to pick up, also 0 down from another guy. Well, I would like to own the whole street. Those opportunities open up because we've spent a whole year building a relationship and learning how they did it. Plus the knowledge has saved me hundreds of thousands of dollars of down payment. So in that case, the relationship, there's still a bunch of transactions that come out of it, but all we did was, can you teach me how you got to where you're at? And now through asking them a bunch of times, how did you do that? We just work in naturally. I know their goals. Their CPA is telling them, dudes, you're 70. I know you love buying. It is time to start unwinding your stuff and your kids don't want it. The biggest thing for them is they don't want their legacy to die. That is their biggest piece, which is perfect because before we learned that, Cody and I have already shared, all we want to do is scale. So when it came time to pitch the $40 million question, it was, look, it's impossible. You own too much in Moses Lake for us to ever outdo what you've done. The only way that we can expand upon what you've built is to buy your entire residential portfolio on a contract. It's the only way I know how to do that. We want to take everything you've done and take it to the next level and take it to the next generation. Now, I hadn't practiced my circle drill a lot, so that had way too many words. And he was smiling and smiling, and he stopped smiling. I was like, oh, I went too long. This is why you practice the circle drill. But that was the pitch. And his answer at the end of it, and Cody and I use this in conversation all the time. This is like our inside joke, but he paused for a second. He goes, he has a super deep voice. He goes, that is exactly what I want to do. And we've gone from there. That is where you want your relationships to lead. When the transaction is finally brought up, because you know each other's parts and you are 100% sure this ticks all their boxes and moves them forward and moves me forward. When you have 100% confidence, you are looking for, that is exactly what I want to do. And that is only through relationships that are greater than a, hey, I'm your local broker. I'm right down the street from you and I would like to help sell your property. It's just, you cannot have that conversation or that size transaction off a phone call. So always book a meeting. Just go after phone calls, as this is for a meeting, which is why we're bringing on John. John is going to open, and his job is to book meetings. It's not to sell real estate. If someone tells him on the phone, hey, I want to sell this building today, can you list it for me? I'm going to train him not to take the bait. Book the meeting instead. That is probably something we can help with, but I want to make sure we fully understand you and we're equipped to help. We're in the area. You need to meet with Chris. He's the most experienced broker I've met. He's the king of single family in the Telecom, Lakewood market, however you want to frame it. I'm going to build the crap out of Chris. I'm going to get Chris into that meeting. That is what his job is going to be. And that is the reason I don't want us selling everything over the phone, because we're going to miss out on opportunities. Always book a meeting and talk about them, their goals, not their property. Their property is the least important piece of the transaction, which seems backwards, but that is, we have tried this so many times, and I have so many people I've taught this, make this call and call me back and go, oh my gosh, first try, I booked a meeting and the guy owns way more than I thought, and he's going to help me do a deal. I'm like, yeah, it works. It's just better. And no one's doing this. Almost no one's doing this. I lied. I said I was going to make a long story short. I failed.
That's powerful stuff, Christian. I mean, nobody's doing it except for you guys, and it's working at a high level. So, can't wait to, put some of that stuff into place on the brokerage side and as an owner investor myself.
I'm really excited I'm glad that we're doing RAD within our firm first, because practical application, when we start doing this is going to be a huge success story. If you guys can get this going, and we have all these success stories of, hey, not only did I help my clients buy properties through this, but I also started my own portfolio. That's the goal. Mm-hmm. This is the secret sauce. This is how P&W grows as a brokerage. This is how all of us individually build our empire. And this is how we service our clients to the highest level. So I am very excited about this. This week, the content here is the thing that Cody and I do uniquely that gives us an edge on everyone else. If you can master this piece, everything else pales in comparison. Like, this is the content piece to study, practice, apply.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what everybody's looking for. Like, what do I do? What do I say? How do I make that connection with people? And I mean, you're right. This is the secret sauce. This is what's going to get you in the door to get that meeting with somebody, but not be like everybody else where, hey, I want to sell your property, or hey, I want to buy your property, like everybody else is saying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's what I have for this week. Next week is going to be fun, because I am following our original, like our owner mentorship program, and I'm retooling it to brokers. So this is a fun experiment. Next week, I'm going over our scripting for brokers, which I think is going to be really interesting, because we're all brokers. just a little highlight reel for it. Next time we meet, I worked at CoStar for 4 years. And before that, I worked at land.com before CoStar bought them. My entire career has been selling stuff to brokers. That is actually all I know how to do. For the most part, I know how to buy real estate. I know how to sell brokers ad product and data product. I have mapped out what I have found. Jordan Belfort has a book called Straight Line Selling. I've mapped out what I have found is the straightest path from point A to point B to selling anything to a broker. The application is going to be twofold. One, how do you form relationships with brokers out of your market as an owner? As a broker, we're going to retool this to how do you also set up your out of market referral network? Because I built a whole call center last year that failed because the owner sucked. Chris, you know what I'm talking about. However, we built really high level relationships with owners with other brokers out of market. And we had a referral network where we closed multiple deals in Georgia, a deal in Arizona. We started going in Idaho, and then everything kind of fell apart from there. Did some deals in Colorado as well. So this will be two-part. One, how to set up your broker if you're in another market, how to build that relationship as a broker. And two, how to set up a ridiculously powerful referral network so that broker wants to work with you and your clients specifically so that you're their first call and top of their list. I've mapped that out. We have a little 5-part straight line script. And so we'll go over straight line selling and broker to broker communications when we meet in 2 weeks.
Cool.
That's what I have for you all. Any last questions before we pow?
Nothing from me.
Yeah, I think we're good. Christian, mahalo.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Christian.
Absolutely. See you guys soon.
Thanks,
Okay.
Christian. Have a good day.
Absolutely. You too.